Hello, Power Up Nation. I'm Pat Council, and I want to talk about 5 myths about achievement and success. When it comes to achieving your goals and when it comes to reaching the level of success that you desire and building that magnificent life that you envision in your mind, there are some, let's say, opinions and suggestions about how to achieve what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So I wanted to at least address 5 of those myths. For example, let's get right into this. The first one is that affirmations don't work. So I've seen some videos on YouTube. I've heard other people say it. And they say that affirmations don't work. And it's not that affirmations don't work. It's that they don't know how to use them or how to explain to people how to use affirmations. Affirmations, it's not about affirming something in the hopes that it will happen. It's not about affirming something and saying, okay, this is all I have to do. It's just affirm this and it's going to happen. I can say I am wealthy and poof, it's going to happen over time. Well, if you just do that, you're going to be affirming for a long time. So it's not that they don't work. The object of the game here is for you to understand what your affirmations are doing. If you don't point your conscious thoughts in the right direction or in the direction that you desire to go, then no, they're not going to work. So affirmations will help you do that. It helps you. It's a part of, let's say, the foundation. And as you go along, it's part of reminding you of the foundation that you set. For example, if you say, I am wealthy, you're embracing the idea of wealth. If you've never been wealthy before, if you've never even reached your financial goals before, then your affirmations are going to remind you that this is what you want to do in your conscious mind. So here's the thing, and I've mentioned this before, that when you affirm something, you do have to put emotions behind it. And if you put emotions behind the affirmations, then yes, eventually it's going to start to sink into your subconscious. So, for example, when people say, oh, I'm such a procrastinator, or if they call themselves lazy, eventually it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because they don't fight against that. They immediately buy into the idea of something that makes them feel inferior and behave in an inferior manner. So as a result, it happens a lot faster, or it happens really without a lot of thought because they're saying it, but they're putting some emotion behind it, some feeling behind it. And the truth of the matter is they begin to embody what they've been saying by procrastinating. Okay, so that's the action that's actually supporting that affirmation. So affirmations do work, okay, because if you understand that eventually you must embody what you're saying, it means you have to become that. If you say, I am wealthy, then you have to do what wealthy people do. And if you're thinking, well, how can I do what wealthy people do if I don't have the money? Well, understand this, before a lot of people, unless they were born into it, or I guess they hit the lottery, and even people who hit the lottery, they had to do something. They had to first go and play the lottery. They had to first go buy a ticket. So your actions indicate that you believe that you are wealthy. So that's how you begin to embody whatever the affirmation is. Okay, so for example, if you say, I am physically fit, then if you're not exercising and you're constantly saying I'm physically fit, you're not embodying that. You're not emotionally connected to that affirmation. You're just saying it because you're going through some kind of ritual or routine because you think this is going to bring me what I want. Okay, so you're taking the path of least resistance in this case, or no resistance, because there's no work behind it, no effort, no energy. So you're not actually sending your energy in the right direction. But affirmations do work. So that's the first myth, is that they don't work. They do work. You just have to know how to use them and how to work with the affirmations. Biblically speaking, the Bible tells us to call those things that be not as though they were. So I'm thinking that the Bible is 100% correct, as opposed to all the people who keep saying that these affirmations don't work. It tells you to call those things that be not, because the things that you desire, those things already exist. Okay, everything, and it tells you that everything that we desire, it's already been made there. It's waiting for you to claim it. But if you don't claim it, if you don't embody it, if you don't do the actions, it's the same as, and I talked a little bit about this on my podcast yesterday when I talked about the identity and adopting the right identity. So it's the same thing. If you don't take any action towards something, you have to take some action. I mean, if you want to, let's say, drive from Florida to Georgia, you have to get in your car, turn it on, and you have to know where you're going. So there's some action involved. This is how affirmations work, but they set the tone. They kind of, they're the beginning in your planning stages. This is what I am, where you start to embody who you are. Okay, enough about that, but we'll probably talk about this more along the way. The second myth is that visualization is not necessary. I've also heard that. It's okay, you can visualize all day long and you'll get nothing. On one hand, that's true, but here's the part that's not true. You need to visualize, because you can only go where your focus leads you. You can only go towards what you see. Okay. I mean, it's not as if it's like driving a car. If you want to drive down the road, okay, and not crash, you need to focus. Now that's using your eyes. You're not visualizing it in your mind, but visualization in your mind, it kind of works the same way. All right. So in other words, what you visualize, that's going to prompt you to take certain actions. It's going to prompt you to feel a certain way. And as a result, it's going to point you in the right direction. So visualization is extremely important. And if you've been visualizing something and you say, you know what, I've been doing this for years and it is not working. Well, here's the key. You have to make sure that the feelings aren't connected to fear. You have to make sure that whatever you're visualizing, that you're visualizing it in faith. What you visualize with feeling becomes a part of you by creating a blueprint for your subconscious. Your subconscious will bring you all kinds of ideas as to how to carry out the mission. Okay, what kind of steps and actions you need to take. It'll prompt you. It'll prompt you to pick up the phone and call someone. It'll prompt you to buy a certain book. You may already have a book on your bookshelf, and it will prompt you to pull that book off the shelf. I've had that happen to me several times. I have lots of books, and some of them, okay, a lot of them I have not read. I've read a lot, but a lot of them I have not read. So I'm not buying any new books right now. Okay. All right. That's probably not true, but let's just say I'm only going to buy one. All right. Let's move on. But the object of the game is for you to understand that when you visualize the kind of energy that you're putting behind it. I've had people tell me, you know what, I see myself doing X, Y, Z, and they see themselves doing something that they consider to be in alignment with their purpose. And they say, I ask myself, what happens if it doesn't happen? If I go for it and it doesn't happen? That's fear. So automatically that vision is tainted. You're sending out, let's say, two different signals. On one hand, you're visualizing this. And on the other hand, the feeling that's being attached to it is, yeah, I see it in my mind, but I don't believe it's for me. See, fear is saying, I'm not courageous enough to go for it. Again, if you go to the Bible, and you guys know I often use certain scriptures to support what I'm saying, it tells you to be strong and of good courage. So, and that's in the book of Joshua. So it's one of my favorite books in the Bible. And so it tells, God's telling Joshua, be strong and of good courage. He doesn't say, you know what, you have this vision to go into the promised land. So I want you to visualize it, but it's okay if you're afraid. So you have to understand that these all of these tools that we've been given. Remember, I'm always saying that we're built by design to win. So affirmations, you get to use your voice. Visualization, you get to use your imagination. And so as you start to use what you have and you use it in the right way, you're going to move towards results. All right, so let's go to the third one. I also heard someone say that you don't need a vision board. Now, in all honesty, it's not a need, but if you're a person, if you have a hard time staying focused on an outcome, and if you need a little help with that, if you need a constant reminder, not that you've forgotten the goal that you set, not that you've forgotten what you would like to have happen or bring into your life, you want to reinforce that vision that you have. If that's the case, then yeah, you can put together a vision board. You need a vision board. Have you ever, let's say, been looking through a magazine and you began to, let's say, wish you could have something, or you decide you are going to get this. Ooh, I see this dress, or ooh, you're looking through magazines with nice homes, and you go, oh boy, I'm gonna get this. You know, I want this, or I desire this. Most people say want, but this is what I would love to have. You know, it's okay to put it on a vision board, because the vision board reminds you of what you're capable of. Because if you can think it, and if you have this feeling that you deserve to have this thing, you know what? It's for you. You just have to do the work. So if you can think it and see it, and see yourself with it, then you can take the steps to have it. Your observations, supported by the right feelings, then they become real. Imagine if you were to put, I don't know, a picture of your dream home on a vision board, and you look at that vision board, and you don't just look at it, you romanticize it in your mind. You start to feel what it would like to be in that home. Then all of a sudden, you know what starts to happen? You start to desire it more. And you start to become more convinced that, you know what, I can have this. This is for me. Years ago, when I first started out, I didn't have any money. And when I started in business, and of course I started in real estate after I left the military, and these were things, I was not taught these things. Okay. And so I had to learn these things, and I had some really great mentors. They were phenomenal. All of them were multimillionaires, and, but they were, let's say, multimillionaires who understood that, you know what, if you do things the right way, you're going to get the right outcome, and you're going to be happy and excited, and you'll be able to enjoy it more. And so with that being said, I learned those things, and I can remember making a vision board years ago, and I still have that vision board. So it's over 20 plus years old, and I still have that vision board. And I can remember putting that vision board together, and every single thing on that vision board happened. Now, I still have the board. I still have what I wrote on the board, but periodically I change the pictures now. I just keep it. And I don't even think it's because I'm sentimental. I think it's because I don't feel like doing a whole new board. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. But the point that I'm making is everything on that board happened. Okay. I even went so far as to put like play money on the board, and I wrote in that the denominations of the bills, and to total a certain amount, and I reached that amount. So, you know, there's something to be said for a vision board, but don't think that you can just put a vision board together and poof, things are going to happen. I saw, this was when, in case you guys are, I don't know if you're familiar with the book, The Secret. It was a movie, and then the book came out. It was an online movie, and then the book came out. And then, on the Oprah Winfrey Show, she had the crew, everybody who appeared, or the cast that appeared in in The Secret. And so they were all, you know, giving their success tips and talking about the law of attraction. And on that particular show, I think his name is James Arthur Ray, and he talked about the fact that he put together a vision board, and that he actually didn't even look at it every day, but he had everything on there. And one of the things that was on there is that one day he would be on the Oprah Winfrey show. And so the thing is, he ended up being on that show. So I don't think you have to like stare at the board every single day, but I do think it's kind of I want to say, first of all, a roadmap, but secondly, if you take the time to put that board together, that's considered a kind of action in a step towards the right direction towards your goals. And it kind of says that, yeah, I'm serious about this. This is what I would like to have. So I'm not going to say you don't need a vision board. Everybody doesn't have to put together a vision board. So not everyone needs one, but you get to decide that one for yourself. But I'm never going to say that just across the board that you do not need a vision board. Your observations, if they're supported again by the right feelings, then it's going to become real. As I said, the house, all of a sudden you're going to feel like you're in the house. And so you're really going to romanticize this. Let's see. Number 4, you don't need to journal. And this is another thing that I heard. It says, well, there are people that spend years journaling and nothing ever happens. Well, I don't totally agree with that. If you're having a difficult time, let's say adjusting up or going after what you desire, I think that if you learn to journal in the right way, that can make a huge difference. So I don't think it's an across the board, oh, you don't need to journal. You just need to get out there and work. We're not all the same. We don't all pursue our goals in the exact same way. So journaling, if that works for you, then by all means go for it. Now, here's the caveat. Some people journal and they journal about all of their drama. They journal about all of their sadness. They journal about things that are counterproductive to the person that they want to be. So it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I talked about that on yesterday's podcast. So you have to see yourself as this person that you desire to be. It's easy for us to kind of talk about what's wrong with us and how sad we are. And I'm not telling you not to express your sadness, because those emotions that you have in you, they have to come out one way or the other. And you don't have to sit on them if they're bothering you. But what I'm saying is, even if you were to journal, let's say, I don't know, about how sad you are or how you're not feeling great about something, then I would say don't end on that note. I would say end on an upbeat, take it upbeat and say, but this is where I am, or this is where I'm going. This is where I desire to be. And this is who I am. And those last few sentences should always point to the goal that you really want to achieve. So I'm not going to say again that you don't need to journal. Sometimes when we see things in writing, we put things in writing, we become more serious. It causes us to visualize an outcome. And as a result, we go towards that outcome. That's why it's important not to visualize, let's say, or not to journal about every doom and gloom thing, because you are creating a picture in your mind. And yes, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So with that being said, remember to end on an upbeat note, or an up note, a high note. And I want to share this with you, and then we're going to go to number 5 and wrap up. But when you journal, I want to encourage you to use good old pen and paper. Use a pen or a pencil and a notebook, or, purchase a journal that you like, a paper journal, and journal it. Take the time to actually write it down. So when writing with, let's say, the pen and pen and paper, and it could be a pencil, that's considered to be more important than digital writing. Why? Because it's going to improve your memory and it improves your creativity, which is what you need to have going on when you're working on achieving goals, when you're working on becoming more successful and taking things to another level. You become more fully engaged. You're more focused, and you're actually more intentional when you're taking the time to write in a journal, as opposed to typing it or using some kind of digital mechanism. Number 5. Um, Now, before I tell you number 5, I've been talking about creativity and visualization and feeling it. And so this is kind of, it's a myth, but I let's just say I want to kind of explain the myth. Okay. If you imagine and feel it, then you will attract it. That's the myth. That you, in other words, you can't just imagine something and feel it and it's just going to show up. So you have to do work. You have to expand your thinking and take action in accordance with what you imagine, in accordance with what you visualize, and in accordance with what you feel. And when you can do that, then you are activating, let's say, your success gene, if you will. The right type of clear goals, when you put down the right type of clear goals, that's going to help you with staying on track and taking the right actions. So there's more to it than just imagining it and feeling it and think, oh, the law of attraction is going to kick in. The law of attraction, it does not just work like a magnet unless you do something. You have to go towards it. So I've mentioned 5 myths, and they're all necessary. And the object of the game is you have to activate all of these to succeed. So you have to believe and behave as if it's actually true, as if it's already true. You can't think of if and when, or if when. Okay, you can think if then, because that can kind of spark something in your mind. But if when, you can't think, well, when this happens, then I'm going to do that. You have to see it as already being done. So with that being said, those are 5 myths. And as I wrap up, I just want to remind you guys, or let you guys know, that I am doing a free webinar, and I'm actually doing it through SCORE, and it's in December. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes, and you can feel free to register for that webinar. Periodically, or well, at least a couple of times a year, I do a webinar on goal setting and goal achievement for SCORE. And so I want to invite you guys to that, because I'm going to be talking more about being intentional and what it really takes to achieve the goals that you desire to achieve. So with that being said, I want you guys to have a magnificent day and do life with power, because you're built by design to win. And I hope you hang out with me at that webinar.